Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today's story is a feel-good gem straight from the mall trenches. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Entitled birthday wife demands free drinks. Context. So I work at a restaurant cum nightclub where we serve a 3-course meal and then we turn over the room and people dance on the tables and the place gets generally rowdy. There's also an option to pre-order drinks for when you get there as the seats are ticketed. There's a full table service, people wave flags, and we come over to take their orders. So as part of my job, I look after a select few tables each night, making sure they have everything they need, taking drink orders, socially interacting with the customers, etc. Story. One night, I'm looking after 4 tables at the back. Only 3 had arrived, all rather small parties and reasonably chilled, which makes my life easy. I make sure they have any drinks they want and get to know what they're celebrating and if they have been there before. Whilst doing so, my 4th table comes in and sits down. It was only a small table of 4, so I go over and introduce myself straight away, congratulating the person whose birthday it is. They had pre-order on the table of a 4-pint jug of beer and some wine for the man's wife. Skip ahead to a little later, I see the table waving their flag, so I go over and take their order. This is the conversation that pursues. Me. How can I help? Wife. We're finished with this jug. Can you take it? Me. Sure thing. Can I get another for you? At this point, she asks her husband and he says yes. Wife. Yes, please. How much will that cost? Me. I check my price list and quote the price. Let's say 15 pounds. I'm still reasonably new, so I don't know this off the top of my head, even though I should. Wife. Are you sure? Me. Yes, I'm sure, showing her the list. Wife. It's just when we came in, we had to pay 20 pounds for the pre-order on the table. I don't deal with anything to do with pre-order as this is sorted out the shift before mine, so I have no clue on prices, etc. Me. I'm sorry, but I don't deal with that myself, although I would guess that the price increase is because the pre-order was prepped beforehand. Wife, raising her voice slightly. I don't care. We were overcharged, so we're getting the next round for free. Me. I don't have the power to do that, I'm afraid. Wife. Then buy it for us. I work 2 nights a week and only make 200 pounds a month because I go to college 5 days a week for 8 hours. Me. I don't have any money, and even if I did, I don't know you. So why should I buy you a drink on the little amount I make? Wife. Because you ripped us off. We deserve a free drink. This is my husband's birthday and you are ruining it. Me. I'm sorry, but I can't do anything about this. Now, would you like your drink or not? Wife. Get me the manager. So I walk off and go find my manager and explain the situation. He tells me to go and do my other jobs and that he'll deal with the situation. Although later he told me that she was demanding a refund for the entire night and that they should be drinking for free. My manager said no to all this and explained that the pre-order works exactly like I thought it did. They stayed for their meal because it had already been paid for, but they didn't order another drink the entire night and left before people started partying. Here's an interesting thought. If she knew it cost 20 pounds when they ordered the first time, why did she ask for the cost of the second pitcher? I mean, it's one thing if she saw the bill and declared that because the first pitcher was more expensive, they'd been ripped off, but she just asked for the price. Most likely, she looked this up beforehand and figured she might get free drinks if she caused a fuss about it. And our second story. Karen Rage quits the gym over a broken elliptical. Be me. 24-year-old female, 15 to 20 pounds away from my ideal weight, making lifestyle changes and going to the gym more often to combat my weight problem, determined to get slim and fit again. Don't be tantrum lady. Late 40s female loses her crap over an elliptical machine. I was on one of 2 specially designed ellipticals in a row. They're the only 2 of the type my gym has. The one to the right of me is wobbly and hasn't been working, so I use the one on the left. This middle-aged lady tries to get on the one on the right. She discovers it's broken. She sees me using the one next to it and is irritated that I have a working one and she doesn't. Instead of handling the situation like a reasonable adult and using another machine, she stomps up to the service desk and tells a staff member She angrily marches all the way over to the machine with him following. He inspects it and discovers the machine is in fact broken. He suggests she use another machine like she should have done in the GD first place, and she, I crap you not, stomps her foot, sighs loudly, and rolls her eyes, all the while glancing at me as if it's somehow my fault I'm using the working machine and the one next to me is broken, LOL. This is only half of the story. I stay on my elliptical. She finally takes the hint and uses a slightly different type of machine that's directly in front of the one I'm using. She makes a big show of how hard it is for her to use it, looking wobbly and unsteady the whole time. She's huffing and grumbling to herself, all the while wishing I'd get off my machine. I don't get off. I take a sip of my drink, water mixed with hydroxycut powder, realize I have to pee, walk off the machine, but leave my stuff there because I'm not done, do my business in the bathroom, and come back. The lady's fuming at this point. I see her get fed up with the machine she's using, angry that I've returned to my spot and will not move. I smirk and watch as she stomps over to the Stairmaster and uses that for a grand total of 5 minutes. She stamps off that one as well and walks back over to the machine I'm using, looks me directly in the eyes as if to say, "I'm entitled to that machine." I stare at her deadpan as if to say, "No, B, I am not moving." She tries to get back on the broken one, discovers that no, it did not magically get fixed out of thin air, furiously stomps off to the bathroom, is now blathering to someone on her phone and screaming. I never saw her again, LMFAO. I don't know if there are only 2 machines and one has been broken for quite some time and management doesn't care. That's pretty annoying. It's not cool to give dirty looks, but I would be frustrated too. But you handled that like a boss. No drama, no snark, just pure, "I'm not moving because you're mad" energy. Absolute queen behavior. And our last story. Our neighbor thought he owned our yard until my mom went nuclear. My parents had always maintained friendly, respectful relationships with every neighbor they'd ever had. Our home was in a quiet, well-kept neighborhood where folks mostly kept to themselves, waved from driveways, and exchanged small talk over mailboxes. That peace lasted for years, until he moved in. From the moment this guy settled next door, something felt off. He came across as overly casual, overly familiar, and entirely unaware, or maybe just completely dismissive, of basic boundaries. What began as minor irritations quickly snowballed into full-on trespassing, harassment, and even property theft. And the breaking point, catching him mid-cannonball into our backyard pool without permission. Let me back up. It all started with the contractors. Anytime we had work being done, whether it was landscaping, roofing, or repairs, this man would materialize out of thin air, striding right into our yard like he owned it. Without so much as a hello, he'd interrupt the crew, dragging them over to his side of the property for what he called quick input or a few questions. He especially loved to do it when he assumed no one was home, but he was sloppy. We had security cameras, and between that and random drop-ins, we caught him red-handed a lot. When confronted, he acted like it was no big deal, just shrugged and gave the classic, "Hey, I was just asking a question." Meanwhile, our projects were consistently delayed by a day or two because he couldn't stop poaching our workers. Free consultations for him, extended bills for us. Then he became obsessed with the property line. Every fall, like clockwork, my family does a full yard cleanup. We rake leaves, trim hedges, and clear any brush, and every year we'd get the same absurd routine from our new neighbor. If even a single leaf drifted onto his side of the yard, a single leaf, he'd come out fuming, ranting about trespassing and claiming we were pushing piles of leaves onto his lawn. He'd stand there, arms crossed, glaring at the landscaping crew like he was daring someone to step an inch over his invisible fence line. Keep in mind, we had actual survey documents showing where the property ended, but to him, that didn't matter. The man watched the line like a hawk watches prey, except instead of looking for food, he was looking for a reason to explode. The casual boundary stomping didn't stop there. If my mom was outside gardening, he'd somehow appear. Not with a greeting or to offer help, nope, just full-on unsolicited conversation. He'd start chatting her up like they were lifelong friends, commenting on everything from her flowers to her clothing. She tried being polite, then she tried being less polite. "Please don't come over uninvited," she'd say. "We'd like our privacy." Still he'd return, again and again, always acting confused by the request. I was just saying hello. At some point, it felt like he viewed our yard as communal space. He treated our private property like his own extended domain, which only got more surreal as time went on. Then came the pool incident. It was mid-July, one of those suffocatingly hot days where even sitting in the shade feels like work. My parents had gone out for lunch, and I was supposed to meet them back at the house later. When I pulled into the driveway, everything seemed normal until I heard splashing. I headed around back and stopped dead in my tracks. There he was, our neighbor, in our pool. He was lounging like he paid the mortgage, shirt off, sunglasses on, floating on a pool noodle with a smug grin. There was even an open soda can on the table, like this was just a casual Saturday hangout. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. He blinked lazily and said, "Oh, hey, just testing the water temperature. Thought I'd cool off a bit." Not sorry. Not I thought you said I could use it. Nothing but bold, entitled confidence. The man had walked into our backyard, stripped down, and jumped into our pool like it was a community center. I immediately called my parents. My mom was furious. She turned the car around and came flying home. The second she walked through the gate and saw him drying off with our towel, she nearly exploded. "This is not your yard. This is not your pool. Do not come back here. Do you understand me?" He had the nerve to argue. I was just cooling off. What's the big deal? The big deal, of course, was everything. You don't walk into someone's property, climb into their pool, and pretend it's normal behavior. You especially don't do it after repeated requests to stay off the property. The final straw came just a week later. Another landscaping crew was working on our irrigation system. Right on cue, the neighbor emerged from his yard, marched across the grass, and started pulling the workers over to get their opinion on his broken sprinkler. That's when my mom had enough. She dropped her gardening gloves, marched right up to him, and said with the kind of voice that shakes the bones, "Take one more step onto our property for any reason, and I'm calling the police immediately." Something must have clicked in his entitled brain. Maybe it was the tone, maybe it was the police part. Either way, he mumbled something, turned around, and walked back to his yard. Since then, silence. He hasn't tried to poach a single contractor, no more uninvited conversations, no leaves have been reported, and most importantly, our pool has remained unviolated. He still scowls at us from across the fence, but he keeps his distance now. My parents installed a new gate lock and added cameras with better angles just in case, but honestly, we haven't needed them. That one direct confrontation seemed to do what months of polite boundary setting couldn't. Sometimes being the nice neighbor only works when everyone else plays by the same rules, and sometimes all it takes to shut down a serial line crosser is one serious threat of involving the law. Oh, wow. This story had me locked in from the first line and physically wincing by the pool scene. Your neighbor straight up cannonballed past the line of social decency, splashed all over boundaries, and just lounged there like it was his backyard Airbnb. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.